Turns out that men are the ones being oppressed. The common assumption that women are the primary victims of oppression is a very surface way of thinking. This is deeply ingrained in our society, that even good guys can start feeling like bad guys. In reality, men also face significant oppression, often overlooked or dismissed. But how exactly are men being oppressed? Let's find out. Before we get into it, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more content like this. Number 1. Laws. Everyone should have rights. These rights are things like being safe from harm and treated fairly. People should also be able to be as healthy as possible, go to school, own things, vote, and get paid the same amount for the same work. When we look at the laws that protect women's rights, we see progress in many areas like voting, fair treatment at work, and laws against violence at home. Women have worked hard for these rights, and they've succeeded in getting laws to protect them. But while women's rights have improved, we need to think about men's rights too. Even though laws for women have gotten stronger, men's rights haven't received as much attention. This shows a gap in how the law treats men and women fairly. Men also face problems that need legal help, like custody battles, unfair treatment at work, mental health issues, and not having enough support. But there aren't enough laws to help men with these problems, which makes it harder for them to get fair treatment. Number 2. Movement. Now, consider the success of women's movements. They've been highly successful in furthering their causes. But flip the script. With men, things are different. There aren't as many movements for men's rights as there are for women. Men's issues, especially ones that don't fit with what's usually seen as manly, don't get much attention, and sometimes people even make fun of them. Ignoring men's issues can make things worse. It keeps stereotypes about what men should be like. This does not only hurt men's feelings, it affects mental health. Men who face problems that don't fit with what society expects might feel alone or embarrassed, which makes things even harder for them. Honestly, this is just oppression. Number 3. Domestic violence. When it comes to domestic violence, people often think that men are usually the ones who hurt others. This idea is deeply rooted in how society sees things and affects how domestic violence cases are handled. But if a man is in a situation where he needs to protect himself from his female partner, things might not go as expected. The system tends to believe the woman is the victim, even if that's not true. This unfair view can cause big problems for men who are in abusive relationships. A big problem for men who experience domestic violence is that they don't get much recognition or support. Society usually only talks about women who are victims, leaving out men who suffer. Their experiences are often ignored, which makes people think men can't be victims of domestic violence. This lack of recognition not only hurts male victims, but also strengthens harmful ideas about what it means to be a man and how men should deal with being vulnerable. Also, the systems in place to help victims of domestic violence often don't do enough for men. Places like shelters and counseling services are mainly set up for women, so men don't have many options for getting help. This can make men in abusive situations feel even more alone and unsure of how to get out and move forward with their lives. To give you an idea of how bad this is, search anything about domestic violence online. You will only be seeing things about women. It's striking to notice the difference in advice given when a woman hits a man compared to when a man hits a woman. When searching for guidance on what to do if a woman hits a man, men are often blamed for what went wrong, while women are provided detailed instructions on how to seek help if they are hit by a man. This doesn't even make sense, and the problem is more serious than we may think. Number 4. Custody cases. It's easy to see that dads face unfair treatment, especially in court battles like custody fights. Even if they are good parents, they often don't get a fair chance compared to moms who say they're better because of their maternal instincts. This idea isn't fair to men and makes them seem like they can't take care of kids as well as women. The bias is just crazy. Also, when couples split up, dads usually get hit harder financially. This keeps the old-fashioned idea alive that men should be the ones making most of the money in families. Even though both moms and dads work these days, the idea that men are the main breadwinners sticks around. This unfair treatment of men in legal and money matters makes everything harder. This is just oppression, and it seriously needs to be looked into. To give you an idea of how bad this is, let's look at what a woman shared. She said that when her family struggled with her ex-wife's treatment of their kids and the legal system, her husband constantly had to prove he was the primary caregiver. Despite changes in custody laws favoring equal sharing, it didn't help dads much. He'd been the main parent to their 3 kids for 7 years before she met him. Yet when his ex-wife sought full custody 9 years after their divorce, court officials assumed she was the main caregiver. Instead of checking the court papers or believing him, they made him prove it repeatedly to mediators, lawyers, judges, and even the Department of Children and Families. This is a full display of oppression fully displayed. Number 5. Support system. Women have lots of help like career advice and support with abuse, but men don't have as much help. Many men don't talk about their feelings or ask for help because they're afraid of being made fun of or ignored. So men's problems often don't get as much attention as women's. This is unfair. When men don't get enough help, their problems get worse and they keep being treated unfairly. If men can't find the right help, they have a hard time dealing with their problems and getting treated fairly. The government needs to take action to make sure men get the help they need to solve their problems and overcome obstacles. Number 6, societal expectations. Traditionally, society has imposed upon men a narrow definition of masculinity that discourages vulnerability. Men are expected to be strong, stoic, and unemotional. This societal pressure has led to a culture where men often suppress their emotions, resulting in strained relationships and a lack of authenticity. They often don't talk about their feelings because they're scared of being laughed at. People don't always take men's problems seriously, which isn't fair. This makes it hard for men to ask for help when they need it. When a man shows vulnerability, he's often viewed as less capable or less worthy of empathy than his female counterparts. He's told to man up and stop acting like a punk. This double standard is everywhere. Men are damned if they stick to traditional roles and damned if they don't. This is a problem in our society that is being ignored. Number 7, the demonization of masculinity. Some things about being a man might need to change, like not asking for help when a man needs it. But we shouldn't say all masculinity is bad. Some women that have been oppressed in the past usually are of this notion that ignores the good parts and unfairly says all men are flawed. Saying being a man is a problem doesn't help anyone and just makes people feel bad about themselves because of their gender. Being a man, like being a woman, is complicated. It includes lots of different qualities like being strong, tough, caring, and understanding. If we accept and celebrate the different ways men can be, we can create a better world for everyone, no matter their gender. Instead of saying masculinity is bad, we should try to show healthier ways to be a man. This means letting men show both their strengths and weaknesses so they can live happier lives. So what we're looking at here is a very complex situation. It shows that men also face difficulties that are sometimes ignored. This doesn't mean that women's problems are less important. It just shows that gender issues are complex. It's important to talk about men's problems too, so we can understand the whole picture and find fair solutions. Talking about men's problems doesn't mean we forget about women's problems. It helps us understand things better and include everyone in the conversation. It's important that men are treated just as importantly as women. Alright guys, we've come to the end of this video, and if you enjoyed it, do well to click on the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to check other videos on our playlist. We've got some amazing contents for you. See you in our next video.